All right. So, hi, Abhinav. Thank you for taking the time out to talk to me. I won't waste a lot of your time, and I would like to get straight into the interview. Just a few questions to ask you. Feel free to answer, and feel free to stop me.
Sure.
My first question for you is just tell me a little about your startup and a little about its history as well.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks, Nishan, for having me here. Yeah, just to start with, I guess in terms of my startup, it's basically a contactless digital ordering solution, as well as a business automation solution for hospitality businesses. What we essentially do is provide them with software as a service, which helps them reach more customers, help customers get to their food faster, as well as, yeah, just overall making the lives of everyone easy at the same time.
That sounds very nice. And when did you think of starting this business?
So I was actually started at the University of Sydney, and while I was studying my bachelor's in product design and development, I was also working in a hospitality business. So while during my days in the hospitality for about 5 years, I noticed a lot of problems that the tech environment had in there. So I could really think of new innovative solutions that could help not only the employees but also the business owners as well as the customers at the same time. And no tech provider at that time, I could say, was doing it really well. Like they were solving the explicit needs, the base needs on the top, but yeah, in terms of what the industry requires in the day and age and in the future, next 50 years, there wasn't anything in that space and at that time. So I really was motivated to create a positive impact through the startup.
That was really a very big risk to take, but a very innovative idea that you came up with. I mean, even I would. I don't have a lot of this. So you said you worked in hospitality, right? So has that in any way helped you in your startup? Like besides for the fact that you thought that needed something, do you think that hospitality, such as your previous work experience, helped you in the startup?
Definitely, it surely does. Hospitality, working in there has laid the foundation for this startup. If today I can go head to head with competitors with millions of dollars, is just because of the reason that I have full confidence in what I've learned during that experience. I really could tap into the latent user needs, just figure out exactly what that person is thinking at that point of time. It really helps me to talk to people and sell my product as well. Could really associate with their like what exactly is going on in their mind. I would be able to tell by just looking at their face and really empathize with them. And people in these days really like people who can understand what they want and not push a sale onto them. So that really made a difference. And yeah, definitely working in the industry that you want to open a business in is surely something that will change your future. Yeah,
that's nice. So it's good that you enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
So then you got the idea, you were all ready with what you wanted to do. Then how did you launch your startup? How did you launch it to the public?
During my days of uni, we learned something called design thinking, which has sort of a principle of 4 Ds, which is like discover, define, develop, and deliver. So if you start with the basics of all these together, initial stage of any startup would be actually digging deeper into the user needs and finding out what exactly is the problem. Once you've defined the problem, that's when you start researching more into the industry. You talk to people, you go out and like just interview anyone, do surveys. Apart from that, you'd go on Google and read articles, see what other people are doing. Market analysis comes in place. And then putting all that together into maybe just a notepad with a paper, pen, and sketch. My business started literally in my living room with my notepad and a piece of pencil. That's where I started just sketching some initial ideas and thoughts. So sketching becomes the first version of prototyping for me. Putting that together in a Pop or Marvel app, you get to link screens together. And then I just show it to other people and see what the idea is, how they react to it. Once that's done, it's a series of creating multiple steps of prototypes, one after the other, low fidelity, high fidelity, medium fidelity, and high fidelity. During the process, you keep on iterating your product and keep on making it better till you get to a version where it's launched, people are reacting to it, you're improving every day. And I guess it's been 2 years and I'm still developing my product. Although it's ready for the next billion users at the same time, I feel like we could there's always time to do something better. So it's a process that you go from defining, ideating a concept, proofing it with the right audience, fixing up the target market, and then applying all the business development strategies to get to the point.
Wow. So when did you start this? At what age?
So at what age? So I graduated in 2020 March, and at that time my vision was kind of clear that I wanted to work for companies like Atlassian or Google, because my academics were really good, and I thought that UX UI development as well as product design is my thing. I want to really get into something because I was working for startups already at that time as freelancer. But then during COVID, no one was hiring. Plus, I was an international student as well, so it was really hard to get like good jobs. So instead of wasting my time doing nothing, I thought, let me try and help the business owner that I was working for. So I initially it's a funny story. I sort of got 100-kilo kiosk. You might have seen them in McDonald's, right?
Yeah, I have.
I got this from a big buff Russian dude. I just paid him like $200, and I'm like, can I get this? He wasn't using it. He had a garage of it. I got it home. It didn't work. It was like 120 kilos heavy, 6 feet tall with 2 screens. We wheeled it across to the home, and I spent the next 2 months just fixing it, understanding the concepts of it, wiring each thing, and like going on YouTube, learning things, how to program it, and then changing it from Russian to Chinese to English. And then all that put together, I was able to work that kiosk and put my software into it. And then I took it to the business owner and said, hey, can we use this? Can we launch this? This is my price. And he was like, well, mate, I'm not going to pay you 100,000 for this. I'm not going to pay you for getting and maintaining this over the time. You need to think of something else. I'm like, that's true. I got a backlash from the industry because you can't maintain such big things and launch something as a startup without any funding. So just I thought, well, this is the technology. It's a computer, right? I can take the technology out of it and put it on a tablet. So I thought, let me invest in some tablets that would be on every table or something. And then I realized, well, I'm making the same mistake again. If it's not a 100-kilo kiosk, it's still a hardware. Why not take it all out and put it in the cloud so that everyone can access it from their phones, any devices in their pockets, right? So I changed the whole concept. Thought I would make an app, but I ditched that idea because no one likes to download apps. So I made a web app. And at the end, one software followed the other, and 3 softwares down the line. I think I have something really robust for this industry right now.
Yes, it does sound.
A series of processes, yeah.
Yes. So when you started, after you launched your startup, your website, how did you build a successful customer base? Because I think successful customer base is the key for the progress to any business. How did you build that?
So I feel like once you're building for the customer and exactly to what their user needs are, that's when they associate a lot with you. And you build a one-on-one contact with them. So it was literally places that I would go all the time to, like some university shops that I would always go to, some cafes that I have coffee. They knew me before. So initial customers, always people who can trust you, who you can build your rapport with, and really show up all the time. Keep in touch with them and make sure you offer that support that no one else has offered them.
Yes.
And if you change the life of one customer through and through, you can change it for 10, you can change it for 100, you can change it for 1 million. So remember to my takeaway from this was to make sure first 10 customers are the happiest customers in this world.
That's right. That's correct.
Yeah.
You need to maintain customer satisfaction as well. And so what, according to you, are the 4 main characteristics to become a successful entrepreneur?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I think top of my list would be persistence, because initially a lot of people can come up with an idea, but to be persistent on that idea and keep on following the path you want to go to is something that's really crucial and important. Second thing on my list would be discipline. So I was lucky enough to have this embedded in me because my father was in the Air Force. And so I had like discipline embedded in me since I was a child. But literally, if anything you want to do, sports, music, or business, studies, discipline is the key. Like wake up on time, show up on time, get there and do your thing. Third on my list would be resilience, because a very big part of entrepreneurship is experiencing failures. experiencing rejections. Till date, I could get I have an Excel sheet working through a list of investors, and we could always get 100 rejections. Every day on someone's mail, it could be just like names popping up saying, hey, you're not good enough, or maybe this is not going to work for you. You should try something different. Well, if you really believe that you solved that for those 10 customers and those user needs were met, that's when you go for it. Whatever it takes, you just go for it. So resilience is the third one. And the fourth last one would be passion. So passion is the key for everything. I think passion drives the hunger, and that hunger will get you to, even if you have to drive 1 hour, 2 hours to get to that person, if you have to walk their dog, if you have to take their children to school, you'll do it for that customer. But that passion, it will really drive your business through and through.
So passion over money?
Passion over money in the initial stages, where you are getting into a pre-seed to seed round. But after that, money is a key, man. I'll get to that in a bit.
But for the money, yeah. So
definitely. So for execution, you require money. Money is the fuel to your business. At any time, cash flow is the oxygen. So no matter how people would say that you don't require money. Well, I bootstrapped my business by working 17 to 18 hours a day. At the same time, it wasn't enough to launch it at a global scale. So you need that rocket fuel to literally take you to the next level.
That's correct. And so how did you, so you're an entrepreneur. First, you said the 4 main characteristics which you have, which is persistence, discipline, resilience, and passion. That all comes with a growth mindset. You can't have a fixed mindset to develop all of this. So how did you develop all of these?
I think a growth mindset for me comes from a very inspiring video that I once watched. It was a video by Simon Sinek, and he was talking about the golden circle, a rule where you basically draw 3 concentric circles. The outermost layer is called how, middlemost is called, the second layer is called what, and the innermost is called why. So at any point in time, a lot of people know how they're doing what they're doing. A lot of people know what they're doing, but only a few know why they're doing what they're doing. So once you learn how to tap into that why, that's when I think you won't require to build a growth mindset anymore. It will come inherently within you. So it just clicks and it helps develop you, like focus more on what's the probability that you'll get it rather than what's not possible. You just know what's not possible at the back of your mind, but you go for what's possible, and that growth mindset will keep on coming again and again to you.
So you mean keeping reasonable goals, right?
Sorry?
So you mean like keeping reasonable goals, not goals that are not achievable?
In the initial stages, always dream big, but yes, remember to have actionable goals, measurable goals. Today, if I want to say I'm beating Elon Musk in next 1 year, well, that's not happening. So you got to know what your target is. So once you know what your target is, that's when you draw the path back to you. So all the dots, therefore, connect at that same time.
I agree with you 100%. And so for being a successful entrepreneur, we learned in our modules that there are 10 Ds. I'll type that out for you. From them, can you tell me which 5, according to you, would be the most important and why? So I'll just start. The first D is dream. Then there's decisiveness. Then there's doers. Determination. Dedication. Devotion. Details. And distribute. So from these 5, which 5 according to you are really important for being a successful entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think the modules are really targeting the main areas. For me personally, out of this list, I would believe that it all starts with a dream. So dream would be my number 1. if you can dream big and think that you can actually get there, and not just think that, well, it's just some other person with the right resources, with the right background. Well, background and resources do help in the stage, but it does start with the dream, and that hunger would come from that dream. So dream is number one for me. Second would be doers. A lot of people can dream, but not a lot of people can do.
That's
I
correct.
have met so many people who would want to say, I want to be rich because I want to be an entrepreneur because it makes me rich, or it could make someone rich. Well, first thing, it won't make you rich. Instantly be ready to lose your house, to lose your car, to stop going out, hanging on parties for entire 1 or 2 years. Remember that it's going to take that toll on you.
Yeah.
So that, well, you really have to do it to get there. So
Right.
doers is second. The third most is going to be dedication. It's because, yeah, once you decide, you dream big, you want to start doing things, but you need to be dedicated towards doing what you're doing. Remember to show up every morning, even if you don't hate taking up calls from that customer, or like anyone that is using your software or anything else. Remember to be dedicated to answer them, to show up, to motivate your team, even if you're having a bad day.
Yes, that's correct.
And fourth most important, which is again in the growth mentality, would be the most strongest point would be dollar.
Okay.
Because I believe that no matter how good of a foundation you have, you require the resources to back it.
That's right.
If Because speed in the market with high competition is really important, and that could come with resources.
Mhm.
So dollar is any day the oxygen for your business.
Okay.
And the last one, so I draw that point as decisiveness, but I would draw it back to something different that I believe
Okay.
is mind and power of mindset. So anything that you do with all your mind into it, it's a very big mental game. Entrepreneurship, it's like a game, more than a game of chess, than a game of like power. It's more mental, and I would say mental backed with spiritual. You have to be connected with your that vibe of being an entrepreneur and solving that problem,
Yes.
and creating what you're creating with all the passion. So I think, yes, you get to have decisiveness that comes from that mindset, that focus.
Yes.
So
Because
yeah,
there are,
all the-
being an entrepreneur, there are many important decisions that you have to take, and there are some decisions that could lead to even a failure of a business, and some where maybe you can't market your product or sell your product. So how do you market your business?
Uh, in terms of marketing, I was very lucky enough from the initial stages to have some really good mentors. In terms of business mentors, they would help me understand how sort of marketing works, how business works, how branding works. So I was very lucky to network in the first stages. So that laid the base for my understanding of marketing. And then in the future, once you want to know how to market a product, it's a concept of defining your go-to market, defining your narrative to people, you're fixing your branding,
Yes.
setting up a target audience, target market, and then deciding inbound and outbound marketing techniques, deciding the spend, deciding what people to hire, and a series of other execution steps. So marketing is a game of I would say uh, execution as well as planning at the same time.
That's correct. That's correct. Execution as well as planning. So when you started your startup, you had done all this without any help, right? You
Yeah,
had
yeah,
marketed
true.
your own without any help at all.
So yeah, I had no backing from. I didn't ask my parents for anything. I had a good fortune of really good friends around me. My closest friend circle were always there for me, whatever the case. And then yeah, I think help would be just good number of people around you, having the people you can believe in, they can believe in you. And a lot of times, even I feel like, this is too hard, I should quit. But then those people will back you in and say, remind you of what you are, and tell you that the problem is not as big, but what you're doing and your why is bigger than that problem. So having the right people with you would really helps.
That's right. So that reminds me that I'm currently studying my bachelor's of business and management, but I have a keen interest in marketing as well. So in
Hmm.
the future, if I want to get hired in the marketing field as such, so being an entrepreneur, what would you look for in an employee?
So
Not just marketing, any employee as such.
just backtracking on some personal experiences here of how we've hired people before, for companies that I've worked for as well, plus in my company, I would say first 10 employees of that company would be something that are sort of all-rounders. We can wear multiple hats at the same time, because you necessarily don't have the enough budget to hire experts in that area, but you want someone who's like can wear multiple hats at the same time. That just defines first 10 or 15 hires. But then after that, 15 to like, let's say the next 100 would be people who are really good at their domain. That's when the entrepreneur decides to sit back and focus on important things and not do everything at the same time. So in terms of what we'd look for, people would be, if you want to work for startups, they would like people who are multifaceted. But then if you want to work for good established companies, and I would say that be very open to doing your own things, like have some projects in your hand, show the employer that you have done this for yourself. A recent marketing hire in our company would be was someone who had launched their own like NGO campaigns back home in India, had supported their own family, had their own stories to talk about. Not really literally just the books, but what you do outside of academics really matters.
Yeah, that's right. So you would choose someone who has a little prior work experiences too, right?
Work experience does matter. For me, it's more like skills and dedication to learn. Because not everyone knows what you want from the start. Neither
Yes,
did I.
that's true.
You can grow people into roles. You can grow people into leaders. And for me, I believe in making people the better version of who they are. It doesn't matter what domain they are in. So it really depends on what leader you want to work with. Some people want experts. Some people want you to just do the task you've been assigned. For me, it's more like, how can I help you be better at your goal?
Yeah.
And in that process, help myself as well.
So choosing the right employee is also a big decision that you have to make, and it's a big challenge as well, right? So what according to you is the biggest challenge of being an entrepreneur?
Biggest challenge, I think it's a mind game, and I think resilience, keeping that resilience is the thing. Is it won't work in your favor 99% of the times, but that 1% of time when it works for your favor, it will like be life changing for you. So I'm laying out the odds 99:1. They're better odds.
Yep.
But I'm saying that to tell people who think that entrepreneurship is a really easy path to let's just get and do it. Well, it's not an easy path. You have to focus a lot. It will take all of what's inside you to be a successful entrepreneur.
Mhm. So as you said, there's a lot of failure. So how do you overcome that? How do you deal with it? How do you deal with failure?
How do I deal with failure? Reminding myself of the why. I'll keep coming back on this as to like why I started this, where I am today versus where I was a few days ago, a few months ago, a few years ago. Always keep competition with yourself. Don't really think about what's happening around you. Yes, you have to be mentally aware, but you are the person you have to be the next day. So be better at your own game. So if you want to accept failure with respect and treat it as a learning lesson.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So as you said, the odds are 99:1. So even when you start your own startup, the odds are 99:1 whether it will whether it's going to be successful or not. So
Mhm.
what according to you are the reasons for failure in a startup?
So there could be many reasons for failure, and some of them is just the entrepreneur's mindset. They just back off. They want to do something really big, but they back off. Half the people I've seen in my life, in terms of entrepreneurs who have invested first 5 years and then suddenly lose the drive to do it the next day. It can happen a lot with people. So you have to be really persistent at what you're doing. So coming back to the fours that I came, and the next reason people fail is not having a proper think in the start. First step was to define the problem and define the solution that you want to create. If you launch something that the market really doesn't need or the user doesn't need, well, you shouldn't have done that in the first place. Just think hard what you want to create,
Yeah.
because it might, you think that first 1 to 2 years will get you there, that it will take 10, it will take 5. Just have a multiplier of 3 to 5 next to it, to get to the next level. So yeah.
So you said entrepreneurs at the start or midway through, they can lose their drive, right? So that comes under the dark side of entrepreneurship that I learned. So do you think that the dark side of entrepreneurship, such as stress or narcissism, can cause failure in a business? Because entrepreneurs deal with a lot of stress.
Yeah, yeah,
So what would you say on that?
definitely. I really empathize and believe in what you're saying right now. I've got white hair just because of this. A few of them, but I'm just 24 right now. But I would say stress is a big thing. But if you're enjoying what you're doing, you'll deal through stress. You'll enjoy the stress. You'll enjoy the journey. Narcissism, a big yes. Because if you think that you've got, just let's say when you reach your first million or this first second, like $1 or $2 million, and then you realize that, well, I think I can do it. I have everything that I need right now. And you've never seen that kind of a money, right?
Yes.
But then you can start having like over narcissism that leads to bad decisions. So always staying down to earth, remembering your roots, keeping those 4 or 5 people in from the start with you all the time. So they will remind you who you are.
Yeah. Even narcissism is sort of like a mental game, I feel, because you can't let money get to your head. But going back to the stress part, you said that, if you really enjoy what you do. So what if an entrepreneur enjoys what he does, but, like I've heard stories that entrepreneurs, they work so hard and so they don't know when to hire a person. So they take all the stresses on themselves.
That's right.
So
Yep.
do you think that could lead to a burnout and then that cause a failure in the business?
Definitely, definitely. So I think entrepreneurs have to be hard workers in the start, but then they have to transition into smart workers.
Yes.
With smart work, what you have to do is decide when exactly is the time that you could use your time to make to do different things which are more crucial to the business, and not do things that you already are good at. Let's say for me, I'm really good at product design, development, app design. I love designing stuff, creating stuff visually. But then at one point in time, I also decide, yes, it's time that we get someone on board who does this job, so that I can focus myself onto reaching out to more investors, reaching out to more people, to more customers. So it really depends on that person, and they have to see that, well, this is going to sound a bit money-minded, but this is something that I learned from a really famous book. So the thing that I read was, if you're doing a job that makes you $40 an hour at that time, is there another job that can make you 400 an hour at that same time? And you can do that as well. If you can do that, focus on that, and put the rest of the money and hiring someone who will do that job for you, so that you make the rest $360.
Yes. So that's smart work.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yes. And I had one more question, which I did not send it to you actually. It came to my mind a little later. So now the science sector, the IT sector is just growing, and growing, right? So, and I do not know a lot about IT. So if I was supposed to start not a startup, but maybe a business, if I want to start up, what ideas would you suggest that I should do? I mean, I have to learn a little about IT, no doubt, because everything is now online. So what would you think?
Again, look, in terms of, if I say IT is really big and I should start a business in IT, that's not the most smartest decision.
Yeah.
The smart decision would be in seeing what you're good at, what you have experience in, what you can actually build, and actually think about that. Let's say right now, I know there's a lot of money in petroleum or mining, or let's say cryptos or NFTs, but they're not really my domain. So you have to know that what exactly is your domain, what you can learn in that next phase, what kind of people you can meet, what kind of resources you have, then get into thinking about a business. And then in terms of IT, what's growing big, look, there's mad money flowing around in terms of cash flows from investors. They'll back you up for many ideas, but remember, you have to be doing something actionable and that creates value in the market.
Yes, exactly.
So
Because
yeah,
I
defining IT is really big.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me.
I was just saying, talking about I want to start something in IT is like a doctor saying I want to start something in human body. Well, every part has its own function. IT
Okay.
is really, really big. So you have to define what is your niche. What are you trying to solve? Find problems first and not don't find domains. Go bottom up, not top down.
Makes sense.
Bottom up approach will be go to the user needs, the problems, work your way up through research and ideation. Top down would be, oh, this industry looks cool. That's what people do with property investing. Oh, property is really good. Let's just buy property. Well, that's simple. But in terms of business and startups, you have to work ground up.
That's right. Because if I start a business someday, even I want to, be passionate about.
Hmm.
Uh, because if I do something maybe in the IT sector, which I do not know anything about, or which I do not have the knowledge that I need to know to at least start it, so I don't want it to, fail as such. So even I want to do something that I know, like maybe not the IT sector, maybe something else. Uh,
Yeah.
just like maybe I don't know, just a startup. Maybe like I like a lot. Uh, I like bikes. I like cars. I like
Mhm.
cycles. That's what I like. So maybe starting something in that. Would you think that's a smart decision to make?
I think it's cool in the first place. You stand out from the population because you're thinking differently.
Yes.
Um, First step is good. Second step is to again come back to: is there a problem that needs solving?
Mhm.
Is that what you can do from your existing resources? Because if you just start something off with, oh, that's cool and flashy, let's do it, you'll be that entrepreneur who quits after 5 years or 3 years. If you want to be in it for the long run, in it for not just first million, but for the next $1 billion, you've got to find something that you really believe in and can change lives of other people. Like in terms of hospitality, I spent those 5 years working up my way from being a cleaner, dishwasher, just being an employee, cutting chicken, going to the head office after that, assistant managing stores, and like having the ground level experience really matters. It will
That's
teach you a lot. So
exactly.
experience, get in that industry that you want to work in, work for good leaders, and then they'll show you the path.
That's right. So you're saying to focus on like a future orientated startup or a business, right?
Yeah, cool. Just think about what you're passionate about. Start following that. Start talking to people who are doing around things around those lines.
Mhm.
You'll figure out your niche very soon.
Hopefully, yes. And just like me, I'm sure there would be many other people who want to start their own startups or business. So just a piece of advice or like a quote that has motivated you to, start.
Hmm. I'll sum it up in two little words: think, do it. That's it.
That's yeah, strong two words.
Yeah.
All right. So Abhinav, that was the end of the interview. Thank you so much for spending time with me. And
Yeah. Pleasure.
I'll just stop the recording.